What's TV going to look like in 10 years' time? And will any of us actually watch scheduled programmes ever again?
Peter, do you want to start? You must have some idea.
Well, anybody who was too fixed in what they thought, I mean, even to use the word TV, by the way, is to probably to be rather presumptuous, in the sense that we don't know quite what the if you look back 10 years, actually if you look back 10 years, the landscape isn't that different from now, actually. But in 10 years' time, it's just that the pace of change is speeding up, and all the rest of it. The technological change is speeding up. My advice is don't make any assumptions. At the same time, I suppose two ends of I always think it's interesting to look at kind of different ends of the spectrum. One is, I think there'll still be real value in stuff that brings people together. I think there always has and always will be, and probably in a more fragmented world, the notion that you've got things that make people, look at the rejuvenation of Saturday night. Actually, probably none of you were either in or currently watch it. But actually, Saturday night, Doctor Who, Strictly Come Dancing, Britain's Got Talent, all the rest of it. Tom would know this because Tom actually pioneered a lot of these shows.
You commission them.
But you.
It's down to you.
I'm going to commission your next one as well, if you can write it down here. But the interesting thing is that the television which brings people together is very valuable content. Might not be television, but that organising principle is fantastic. That's what we love. We somehow want it and need it. And then the other end of the spectrum is just the fragmentation. Is the stuff which is the ability to give things to people in a personalised way, in a way that works for them in their locality, as individuals, not as in the kind of herding principle, but as you with your tastes that works just for you, that speaks to you, that is organised in a way that is convenient and at your fingertips. It seems to me that's the direction in which we're going as well. It's the view of the consumer as master of the universe. And I suppose if you were to look at two principles, you'd still bet that each of those things, in a more exaggerated sense, would prevail 5 or 10 years from now.
Yeah, I suspect the industry will. In America, what we know is network television doesn't really exist. That in America, it's always been the case that network television starts at 8 o'clock in the evening and finishes at 11. And in the case of Fox Network, it finishes at 10. So it's a very, very narrow window when the nation gets down and watches TV together. But it's very, very important, and shows like American Idol are the proof of that, where more than half the nation watches together. And 64 million people vote for the winner. So I agree with Peter entirely that there still will be a demand for that, and that's a kind of social demand for big things that people can watch together, both as families and also as social entities. But everything around that, I think, will be unrecognisable. I can't imagine networks like ITV will seriously want to have acres and acres of daytime and early peak that it has to, in some way, spend money on. And I think we'll have different models. I think we'll have different ways that we'll watch everything outside those big chunks of prime time. That's personal. I could be completely wrong.
I think, if you want mine, my view is there will still be networks, there will still be channels. They will not get as big an audience as they get now, but then they don't now. 10 years ago, I was running a large independent production company and got a drama cancelled because it only got 9.5 million viewers. Well, if you got 9.5 million viewers today with a drama, you'd be celebrated. You'd be the best show they've got. So it just tells you how it's changed. What is interesting, what Peter says, what's happened to Saturday nights is the re-emerging of live television. Of sport, of big entertainment shows, and I think they become more important in a world when everything can be pirated, which is the world we're entering, and you can't pirate a live football match. And create value. You can't pirate the X Factor final because it's live. And that, I think, you're going to see more of, and that will be big budgets. But the problem at the moment is that advertising revenue is collapsed, really. I mean, advertising revenue for most of the networks is down 20%, which destroys their business model. So it will all change, but I still think there will be channels, and I do still think, just like the iPlayer has changed. I mean, the iPlayer in many ways screws up the BBC because probably you've all discovered you don't have to pay a license fee anymore. You can watch it on the iPlayer. Well, there'll be another version of the iPlayer coming quite soon, which basically will be internet television, and you'll be able to see anything you want from anywhere. And as I say, what becomes worrying for the producers is piracy and all those sorts of things. And if what happens to the music business happens to the television business, i.e., how many people here pay for a CD? Right.
The rest of it.
Yeah.
Greg, the other thing I was going to say, Greg, just one thing, just so it's not all too gloomy. The other thing I think is making stuff. Being a content creator, being a program maker, being a producer. That is a great place. Is still a great and will be a great place to be. I really think that. I mean, a lot of the issues around platforms, around how people get stuff, how you get people to pay for stuff. The interesting thing, I think, and that will be figured out over time as well. Lots of different ways of coming at that. But I think the notion of the power gradually and inexorably moving towards creative people who make things, stuff that people desperately want, whether it's little things or big things, I think that's still going to be, and increasingly going to be, owning and exploiting and developing IP, that intellectual property is still going to be a fantastic place to be, increasingly so.
I think it's going to be the most exciting place to be. I mean, the questions that you've asked have been very specific about television and about print. They aren't the future. What is the future is the creative industries. And creative industries, I mean, the government published a huge document last week, which I don't recommend reading, Digital Britain. It's all about what Digital Britain means to the creative industries, what the creative industries in Britain will mean to the world. I think there's huge opportunities out there. And frankly, as a television station or channel closes, 50 or 500 digital opportunities emerge. So I think that if you embrace that, I think it's going to be a very exciting future. It's just going to be very, very different from the world that we had when we left this university.
I think the stat was something like it's something 7% of GDP is actually down to Creative Britain, and that's a sizable chunk of our country's economy, and that's really, really positive. I know last year there was a massive quite a big event in Golden Square called Creative Britain. It was all about bringing the creative industries together, and the government are very, very keen on this as one of the UK's big selling points and big future areas of growth. So from your point of view, you're coming out into graduating, and the government is really behind Creative Britain, and that's a very positive place to be.